allegiance.
Live long and lay a Salonga.
Patty and Emily, thoughts and comedy from Broadway superfans. From Broadway superfans.
So this Broadway musical, deals with Japanese internment camps, which George Takei, one of the stars, and he's not like a credited writer, but he's been working to get this show produced for a very long time, was in a Japanese internment camp as a child.
I feel like I had heard some things about people saying that there were tone issues in this show, and I understand why people think that. And I don't think that there's necessarily tone issues. I think there's maybe like mediocre writing issues. But I actually really valued the juxtaposition of seeing people being joyful and having fun while also being miserable in an internment camp, because I don't think it would be a fair or accurate portrayal to only show the complete negativity, because that's one of the things that's beautiful about it, is how humanity maintains itself in its most dire circumstances.
Absolutely.
So,
life goes on.
The songs that were like fun, light songs, I didn't think that it was out of tone. I thought maybe overall the music style of the show hit like every fucking style.
Right.
And I felt like the composer was like, I want to do it all.
Right.
And maybe should have been like, maybe instead of having this number be a jazz number.
And that's the one number that I felt was out of place. Not what was happening in the scene.
Right.
But just the song. Because the only other song I can think of, that song was I Oughta Go, which was like a jazzy number between Hannah and Sammy. It was a little, again, not what was happening in the scene, but just the sound of the song.
But honestly, like, I didn't think that jazz number...
It didn't ruin the show.
It didn't ruin the show. It didn't take away from the show. It was sort of like, well, that's a little weird. But, like, and that was it. And then I was like, I love this show. Leah Salonga.
I thought it was most effective in dealing with the complexities amongst the Japanese Americans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
absolutely
very much the idea of the fighter, and then what came to my mind was Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr.
Absolutely.
You know, you have the person who thinks, I need to be an example. I need to show these idiots what a Japanese American looks like, and that is a patriot and someone who will fight. And then you have the other side of it being like, fuck that.
We're being treated like shit, and we should fight back.
Right. I both sides are necessary, I think, just like in the civil rights movement. And I thought it was just really well done.
Also because I felt like the show didn't necessarily take a stance on which one was right.
No. And the music and lyrics are by Jay Kuo, who also is one of the book writers. But, overall, strong performances, strong songs.
Absolutely. George Takei is wonderful in everything.
He's fantastic. He was real tier realness.
Girl.
Real tier realness from George Takei. And, like, you have him...
So he gets to play two characters, which is awesome.
There's a framing device where he plays Telly Leung's character as an old man. And then in those flashback scenes, he plays the grandfather.
Well, the flashback scenes being the entire show.
The entire show. This is, the framing device is just the first and last scene.
Right.
But he gets to play some real beautiful emotion in those framed scenes, and then he just gets to
play like the adorable, dorky little old Japanese man.
And he's got good moments in there too.
Oh, great moments.
But also, it's a lot of just him being adorable and fun.
Not that this is him, but the direction choice for his character's death scene
was strange.
Weird. Didn't like it.
It was strange.
Very odd. Hated it.
I mean, I don't know, my initial reaction, being me, was to, like, I didn't want to be like, this is stupid, because I didn't know if it was trying to represent any sort of
Japanese
like
culture,
religious or
like
just because there was some chanting that was happening, and I honestly don't know, but I will say that I thought it was weird.
I don't know, let's just talk about Leah Salonga. Can we just talk about Leah Salonga? Because I fucking worship her.
I'm so glad I got to see her in a Broadway show.
You know, I've never obviously seen her in anything.
Right.
And I don't know Miss Saigon.
Oh.
And so Lea Salonga is like one of those people who's sort of like, yeah, Lea Salonga. I know about her.
But she's Mulan.
I know, obviously I know, like, those songs
singing
and
voice
love
of Mulan.
those. But
And jazz.
being able to, like, it's just wonderful when you can experience a performer live as really, like, your first love of them, where you're not coming to it of a place of like, oh my god, I've listened to every single one of your recordings and now I'm getting to see you live, because that's a very special experience in its own way.
Sure.
But being able to sort of like come to Lea Salonga relatively blank and being like, I know she's great and all, and then be like, she's so amazing!
Yeah.
And now I'm like I'm obsessed with her. She's fucking incredible.
She's the best.
I'm in love.
Yeah.
She's so amazing. She's a fantastic fucking actress. She can obviously sing to all high hell. Wait, that's a problem I had with this show, actually.
Oh.
The musically, the song endings were not what they could have been.
There were a lot of chances to option up that weren't optioned.
And not even just like an option up. I just felt like a lot of the ends of songs were sort of like, when you're like, you're gonna hit that big note, and a lot of the notes they were doing were like kind of Ethel Mermany. Like Ethel Mermany, where she's like, I'm just gonna hit this note, and you're like, but come on, you know what Lea can do, you know what Telly can do.
Oh my god!
Can't you just put it just up?
Everybody knows what Telly can do.
Everybody knows. But otherwise, I mean, just Lea Salonga. She looks so cute in those outfits. She looks so fucking adorable in like that style of dress, and like that hair was so cute on her. I'm in love.
The costumes were done by Alejo Vietti, who did Beautiful. Also,
I really liked the costumes.
Good with period costumes.
I thought they were great.
They were really good.
Telly, Leung was fantastic.
I mean,
it was really fun and awesome and exciting to see him leading a musical.
Yes!
Like, he's fucking great.
And because I sort of didn't know, I knew what this show was about, but I didn't know what characters everybody played. As soon as I realized that George Takei, like, the whole show was going to be his flashback, I was like, oh my god. Telly is playing young George Takei. He's the lead of this musical, and I hadn't realized that.
Right, because I think that maybe, you know, the tagline is like something about family. So I was like, oh, it's an ensemble piece, it's a family musical. And then you're like, Telly Leung is the star. It was great, and he was fantastic. He was perfect. Great. It's a complex character that goes through a lot of stages. Where he starts at the beginning of the show and where he ends he has such a huge character arc. It's great, and I love the chemistry between him and Lea. Like, they had amazing chemistry, and like also I really fucking liked having a show that, although it did have romantic storylines to it, the central relationship that it's focused on is a brother and a sister. So, like, those romantic relationships that develop very quickly because of the nature of the style didn't feel horrible because it wasn't the focus. It wasn't like the focus of the show is that these people fall in love in 30 seconds. It was like the focus of the show is this brother and the sister. While that's happening, they also both fall in love with other people.
And it's like one of those unfortunate theatrical timeline issues where you're like, how long have they actually been there?
Right.
Because they were there a few years.
Yes.
So it could possibly not have been as fast.
Absolutely. Well, I liked the way there were context clues indicating the time that I thought worked really well, so that it wasn't like, or I think there was one super title that told us how much time had passed at one point.
Yes.
But most of the time it was like, you saw Lea, you knew her character was pregnant. Spoiler alert. And then, like, the next time you saw her, she was holding a baby. Right. So, like, you could see the passage of time without being like, 3 months later, or like whatever. It was seamless.
Yeah, and there's a lot of musicals where you're like, wait, wow.
Right, where they don't do a good job of just giving you small clues.
Right. And playing Leah's love interest was Michael K. Lee.
He was great.
I was like, I get it, Leah. I get it. He was great.
He was fantastic. And he also had a really interesting, complex character.
And I feel like both of those characters, his and Telly's, had they not been written as well, either one could have come off as, like, really obnoxious.
Absolutely.
And you could have not wanted to root for either of them, but you got both of them.
Right.
You got where both of them were coming from.
You know what I really, really liked about his character, about the character of Frankie, is the way in which he courts Leah's character was, like, we hate that, like, obnoxious guy thing that gets written into shows where he's like, I'm gonna change your name and I'm gonna do all the show but your work and harass you. And he was
I'm gonna badger you until you give in.
Right, and he was sort of doing that, like, he was doing that manifestation but in the right way, where you're sort of, like, kind of having that weird, awkward, cute, like, hey, you know, I kind of like you and I'm not sure how to express it.
Because there's a reason why that's a little bit of a trope, is because it's not false to real life, but there's a way to do it that doesn't encourage stalking.
Right. And in the moment when he is making his first, like, real move on her, and he leans in to kiss her, and she's like, no, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, he walks away.
That's how it's done, y'all.
Yeah. She did not give consent.
She was like, no.
Said, okay.
Like, okay, I'll keep working on this, because it's not like, she wasn't
trust.
saying, like, no, get away from me, and then he was still, like, coming after her. She was like, I'm not ready for this. We just started out. And he was like, all right, we'll take some time. I'm gonna win you over in the end, because I know that you're who I love. Like, I think you're amazing, and it was great. It was so good. I loved it.
It was well paced. It was believable. It was, and he was great. He looked great in that leather jacket.
You know what I think is really great about this show? I feel like a lot of the times we see shows where, like, when we saw Chaplin, we saw it and we enjoyed it, and then when we sat down and picked it apart, I started to
you see the holes.
You saw the holes, and I feel like this, while I was watching it, I was noticing a lot of things, and now reflecting on it 24 hours later, I've forgotten about all the scenes, and all I'm remembering are the things that I really loved about it, which means that it's good.
Yeah. Do you know what I thought was really cool, which you're not even going to believe, because it was a projection thing? There was a very impactful representation of the bombing of Hiroshima.
Oh!
And at first I didn't understand what was happening. They had all of the actors on stage in the dark. You know, you could see their silhouettes. And I didn't understand at first. I just thought it was like a spotlight. And then I realized what was happening is that individually, and then eventually on everyone, they were projecting the mushroom cloud on them.
That was such an effective theatrical tool. Oh my god. At the end of that scene, when it was like a mushroom cloud on each and every one of them, it made me think about Atomic, and it made me be like, here's how you do it, guys.
Complex.
Here's how you show hundreds of thousands of people being murdered. Oof. God, that's another thing America hasn't reconciled, is fucking bombing the shit out of Japan. Because I think America is like, that's what won us the war. And you're like, you killed hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, I think it's what stopped the war. And I would hope that you would think that, not that's what won us the war. Because I think there's a difference.
Yes.
Because war is fucked up.
War is fucked up.
On all sides. Nobody comes out of it unscathed.
No.
Go see a Broadway show.
Seriously, go see this.
No,
it's an important American musical, and Lea Salonga's in it, so what's your fucking excuse?
From Broadway super fans.
And she was pregnant. Should I start over?
Sorry, no, I was trying to make a joke, and then I realized I'm going to stop making this joke.
But
I talked over you, and I shouldn't have.
And then you just shut your mouth.